There are sounds in aviation that command respect, the thunder of jet engines, the piercing whistle of afterburners, but none are as haunting, as primal, as the deep, rolling roar of the Tu-95 Bear. To hear it is to feel history itself rumble through the air, a metallic growl born in the darkest days of the Cold War and still echoing across the skies today. This colossal machine, with its spinning propellers slicing through the atmosphere faster than the speed of sound, is not just a relic of Soviet might, it is living proof of a design so formidable, so perfectly engineered for its purpose, that it refuses to die. The Tu-95 was created in an age when the world trembled on the brink of nuclear annihilation, when every decision carried the weight of global destruction. In the early 1950s, the Soviet Union faced a daunting challenge. The United States had fielded its B-52 Stratofortress, capable of delivering nuclear bombs across continents. The Kremlin demanded an answer, a bomber that could strike fear into America's heart from halfway across the globe. And so began the birth of the Tu-95, a machine conceived not just to deliver destruction, but to announce, with every thunderous flight, that the Soviet Union would never be outmatched. The genius behind this beast was Andrei Tupolev, the legendary aircraft designer whose name would become synonymous with Soviet aviation power. Tupolev's engineers were tasked with the impossible, to build an intercontinental bomber fast enough to evade interception, powerful enough to carry nuclear payloads, and efficient enough to cross oceans without refueling. Jet engines of the time were too thirsty and unreliable for such long missions, so Tupolev made a radical choice. Instead of relying solely on jet propulsion, he turned to turboprop technology, a hybrid between the piston engines of World War II and the emerging jets of the modern age. The result was the Kuznetsov NK-12 engine, still the most powerful turboprop engine ever built. Each of its 8 contra-rotating propeller blades spins with a fury that produces both terrifying power and a sound that could be heard miles away. It was an engineering masterpiece, a paradox of speed and endurance, brute force and precision. Unlike anything before it, the Tu-95 could cruise at near jet speeds while remaining astonishingly fuel-efficient, capable of flying over 15,000 kilometers without pause. Every line of its fuselage, every vibration of its massive propellers, was optimized for one purpose: to keep the Soviet Union's finger on the nuclear trigger, ready to deliver destruction anywhere on Earth. Its first flights in the mid-1950s stunned both allies and adversaries. Western observers, accustomed to thinking of propeller aircraft as outdated, were astonished to see the Tu-95 reach speeds exceeding 900 km per hour, a speed previously thought impossible for a prop-driven machine. NATO soon gave it a codename that captured both fear and admiration: Bear. And indeed, the name fit perfectly. The Tu-95 was massive, lumbering, and loud, yet surprisingly agile for its size. It could climb into the stratosphere, patrol vast swaths of ocean, and carry nuclear weapons that could erase entire cities. During its test flights, engineers discovered a unique signature: the sonic vibrations from its giant propellers created shockwaves that could be detected by submarines and early warning systems. To the west, that sound became the symbol of Soviet power, an audible warning that the Bear was awake, prowling just beyond the radar horizon. Yet despite its fearsome capabilities, the Tu-95 was never used in combat to deliver nuclear devastation. Instead, it became the ultimate psychological weapon, a machine of presence and pressure, often dispatched to fly near NATO airspace, forcing Western fighters to scramble in response. It was both a test and a message: we see you, we can reach you, and we are watching. Throughout the Cold War, the Tu-95 evolved like a living creature adapting to its environment. It was modified, improved, and modernized in secret facilities across the Soviet Union. Some variants carried nuclear gravity bombs, while others were converted into long-range cruise missile platforms, able to launch weapons from thousands of kilometers away. As the world entered the 1980s, the Tu-95MS variant emerged, a symbol of Soviet resurgence, carrying the deadly Kh-55 nuclear cruise missiles capable of hitting targets with pinpoint accuracy. While the Americans invested in stealth and speed, the Soviets doubled down on endurance and intimidation. And somehow, it worked. The Bear became a cornerstone of deterrence, an aircraft that, while slower and less stealthy than its American counterpart, could loiter in the sky for endless hours, communicating a single, chilling truth: the Soviet Union had the means to strike back. Even today, Russian Tu-95s continue to patrol near the borders of NATO, their unmistakable signatures still picked up by radar operators who know that the ghost of the Cold War never truly vanished. In comparison to its rivals, the Tu-95 stands as an engineering enigma. The American B-52 Stratofortress, though roughly the same age, relied on jet propulsion and could carry larger payloads at higher altitudes. Yet the Bear, with its archaic-looking propellers, achieved something the B-52 could not: unparalleled range and endurance. The Tu-95's efficiency allowed it to stay airborne longer, fly lower, and adapt to missions from nuclear strike to maritime patrol. Where the B-52 symbolized precision and technological superiority, the Bear represented persistence and raw power. It wasn't just a bomber, it was an icon of Soviet philosophy: pragmatic, durable, and unrelenting. In many ways, the Tu-95 was the embodiment of the Soviet spirit itself: noisy, imposing, and impossible to ignore. Even Western pilots who intercepted Bears during NATO patrols described the experience with awe. The massive silver wings shimmered in the sunlight, the propellers blurred into translucent discs of fury, and the noise was so intense it could be felt even through the cockpit of a jet fighter. This wasn't just another aircraft, it was a machine that announced its presence to the world like a god of thunder. But behind this mechanical might were human stories of pilots and crews who dedicated their lives to taming the Bear. Flying the Tu-95 was no small feat. Its massive engines demanded constant attention, and the vibrations could wear down both the aircraft and its crew. Missions could last more than 10 hours, with little comfort and enormous responsibility. Yet, for many Soviet airmen, the Tu-95 was more than a job, it was a calling. They saw themselves as guardians of their homeland, entrusted with the ultimate deterrent. Many of them developed personal relationships with their aircraft, referring to the Bear with affection and respect. Inside the cockpit, amid analog dials and roaring engines, camaraderie grew, a shared bond between men and machine, forged by danger and discipline. Behind them, in Moscow, political leaders saw the Tu-95 not merely as a bomber, but as a symbol of national pride, proof that Soviet industry could produce machines to rival or surpass any Western invention. Even decades after the fall of the Soviet Union, those who designed and flew the Tu-95 speak of it with reverence, as if it were a living being, an immortal sentinel of a bygone empire. And now, more than 70 years after its first flight, the Tu-95 still takes to the skies, a sight that bewilders modern audiences. How could an aircraft designed in the 1950s remain relevant in the age of stealth fighters and hypersonic missiles? The answer lies in its adaptability. The Bear has been upgraded repeatedly with modern avionics, advanced radar systems, and the ability to carry modern cruise missiles like the KH-101 and KH-102, weapons with intercontinental range and devastating precision. In today's geopolitical landscape, where strategic deterrence still shapes the world's balance of power, the Tu-95 continues to serve as a reminder that sometimes, endurance outlives innovation. It may be loud, it may be old, but it still commands the sky with the same authority it did during the Cold War. When it passes overhead, even the most advanced air defense systems take notice, not because they fear an attack, but because they recognize the echo of history in its rumble. So what does the legacy of the Tu-95 Bear mean for us today? It is a reminder that technology, no matter how advanced, carries the soul of its creators. The Bear was born from fear and ambition, yet it endures because it was built with vision and purpose. It is a living fossil of the Cold War, proof that engineering brilliance can transcend politics, ideology, and even time itself. As new aircraft like the American B-51 Raider or Russia's own PAK-DA stealth bomber prepare to take their place in history, the Tu-95 still patrols the skies, defying obsolescence. Perhaps that's the greatest irony of all, that in an age obsessed with invisibility and silence, the loudest, most visible machine of the 20th century still refuses to fade away. The question now is, what does that say about humanity? Are we advancing toward peace, or simply reinventing the same instruments of fear in a new form? Tell us what you think in the comments. Is the Tu-95 a symbol of outdated power, or a timeless testament to human resilience and ingenuity?